Welcome to Bet On It College Football Edition. It is week 7, and we're going to get right into it. Let's bring in Marco D'Angelo and Gianni Corrales, the Greek gambler, and Marco in Vegas. Sorry we're a little bit late today. Marco had to watch his horse finish in 6. So sorry for your first loss of the week, Marco. I know it's not that much fun, but, Sin City Laurie will get it next time.
It wasn't Sin City Laurie. It was the other one, Southwind Aussie. But either way,
The other one that's now for sale.
It's an exciting week, Kelly. We got some good games to break down in college football this week. Some live barking dogs have been doing real well on the show, and let's see if we can get the best bets turned back around this week. So looking forward to a big show.
Absolutely. You guys are going to hate my best bet. I cannot wait to get to that in about 45 minutes. VR absolutely crushed the Contender Series once again last night. VR, give yourself a little plug. Tell everybody where they can get your information on Tuesday nights.
You got it. You got to start checking out the Contender Series. Honestly, it's one of the funnest shows because it's kind of like being at the horse track where it's like a race after a race after a race. So like you're betting one after the other after the other. That's why I kind of love MMA. Because it is that constant, it reminds me of being at the track. Like after the next race, there's the next fight. So it has that vibe. I'm just having so much fun with it. And a lot of like people that aren't in our industry don't get how difficult it is to walk that fine line. I know you deal with it. Marco deals with it. Like you have so much data, so much information you want to share, but you have 30 seconds to do it. You know, like there's TV works a certain way. There's a lot of moving parts. So like you'd only fit so much in, but then on top of it, like, it's a national audience and everyone's not betting every day like we do. They don't wake up and talk about spreads 24/7. So like you have to also aim it towards a national audience. So balancing that fine line has been like a real learning experience for me, but it's been a lot of fun, man. And I really honestly appreciate the UFC and their patience because, again, I'm the least professional there. I have no communications training, nothing like that. English is even my second language, for God's sakes. But, yeah, it's been a great ride. And I have a lot of stuff to share today. I got gold for you. I have steam for you. I know I haven't been killing it at all in college football and even in NFL this season. I tell you when I win, I tell you when I lose. And I think I'm down in both right now for the 2021 season. With all that said, the only thing I ask is that if you're going to talk shit, I don't mind it. Just do it before the game. Like you lose all credibility when you come back after the game. You're supposed to disagree with me. You're supposed to disagree with Marco. You're supposed to disagree with Kelly. Because again, there's team A, there's team B. We're not going to be right all the time. We're not going to be right even, 60% of the time. So we're all going to agree and disagree. But have some common courtesy, or more or less, more importantly, have some balls and do it before the game. Step up and say, that's a piece of shit play. It's terrible. That I could respect. But coming back after it loses, that was a terrible play. How can you give that out? Dude, tell me before. Afterwards, and I could tell you that was a bad play. So again, not to go on that rant, but because we like to share a lot of stuff, and the goal is to help you make money and make you a better. So with all that said, that's the only thing I ask. A little common courtesy and some balls. If you're going to talk shit, just do it before the game, not after. Thank you.
As we like to say, make sure you guys smash that like button, jump in the comments, tell us what you do like, tell us what you don't like. And maybe we're going to start taking a little bit of questions here from Twitter, as you guys will see in the next segment with Ralph. But right now, we're going to get into the big game breakdown. Kentucky currently really interesting, 22.5, but some of the offshores, 21.5. Now catching at Georgia, total 44.5. Marco, I'm going to go to you first here. I kind of lean towards the Wildcats early in the week, but man, this Georgia defense, do I really want to step in front of this freight train? I just think it's better to just sit back, watch this game kind of like I did Alabama, Texas A&M, maybe cheer for the dog. I just don't know if I can get involved here.
Yeah, Kelly. Well, a little bit different than that Alabama Texas A&M game. At least Texas A&M was at home, so you got that old home dog and the marquee game. And no question, this is the marquee game. You got two undefeated teams in the SEC, but it tells you how much difference there is between the SEC royalty and the new kids on the block. And, Kentucky, you don't generally talk about them as an SEC power. They've done everything asked of them this season, and they were good to, I know, you and me a couple weeks ago against Florida. But I'll admit it. And it was I had a weekend last week where, I went 6-4-1 for my clients. 3 of my 4 plays could have, should have won. One of them was never in it. And that one that was never in it was LSU against Kentucky. I thought it was a horrible spot for Kentucky. And, after the big Florida win and then having Georgia on deck. So they showed some moxie in not having that letdown last week. But that still doesn't matter this week. They have not faced the defense anything close to what they're going to see on Saturday with the Georgia Bulldogs. This defense is for real. I don't know if Kentucky can get to 10 in this game, to be totally honest with you. There's only one way for me to play this game. I'm going to look at it and take Georgia. I'll lay the points with them. We're under, we're floating around, getting close to that 21 offshore. I don't think it ever gets there. The Sharps won't let it get to 21, but it's never going to go to 24 either. So we're under that other key number. For me, it's Georgia or pass, or maybe, if you want to take a look at some, team totals, I definitely like the under on the the Kentucky side, because their offense has struggled at times this year. They've got a good defense themselves. So I know you say, why not take a look at the under in this game? If Georgia gets a couple touchdown lead, then Kentucky might start forcing the issue to try to get back in it. And that's when bad things can happen. This low of a over under, you get, 1 pick 6. Do I have to remind everybody of the Notre Dame Wisconsin game a few weeks ago with stone cold unders that go awry? So for me, small lean to Georgia.
I can see that as well, Marco. I don't really want to get involved in this under either. Now, Georgia hasn't given up a ton of points. I believe 33 this entire season. So it looks very easy to take that under, but you are correct. Kentucky does have a little bit of a potent offense. Their defense has shown some moments of greatness, I'll say. So it could go either way. That team total might be the way to look here. VR, your thoughts on this SEC big game?
And Kentucky's in a lot of trouble in this game. That's the bottom line. Because, sure, they're undefeated, but when you look at the two sides, we now have enough data. This is the time of the year where you can start trusting the numbers. And here's what we have. Strength of schedule has been day and night. If you look at what Georgia's had to play against compared to what Kentucky's had to play against. So these are two completely different 5-0 teams. And that's what this point spread reflects. I think it's warranted. I have not bet this game. Personally, none of the groups I work with have gotten involved, so I don't want to waste your time. But here's what I do like, because this is what sticks out. Again, the numbers don't lie. And right now, we do have enough data, especially on the Georgia side, since they have played a difficult schedule. I think a top 15, top 20 for sure so far this season. And what are they? Number 1 defensively in yards per play allowed, points per game allowed, yards per game allowed, like every possible metric, whether it's predictive or not, they're number 1 or close to it. So again, it's a defense that you're going to have a Kentucky offense, which isn't all that potent. In fact, if you look at the data in most of the metrics that are predictive, they're barely a top 50 team. In the ones that aren't predictive, like total yards, that kind of stuff, and they may be top 20, top 25, nothing to brag about. Again, strength of schedule has not been all that difficult. So for me, it's Georgia and under, because I agree with Marco. I don't think Kentucky's going to put up more than 10 points in this game. If I had to bet it, I would probably bet the under before I'd even bet the Georgia side. But again, I just couldn't take the points, Kelly. Not a game I bet, but it's Georgia and under, or leave it alone to me. At least that's what all the data and even the line, the movement tells me.
All right, great stuff, guys. We are now ready for the man of the hour. He's back from his, I think Marco said he was taking pole dancing lessons, Mr. Ralph Michaels. There he is, Mr. Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV on Twitter. you have a question for Ralph, we'll get to one of those in the NFL segment, in the NFL edition of Bet On It. But Ralph, it's week 7 of college football. Where the hell is the time gone?
Isn't it exciting? Well, what a time. NHL starting, NBA starting, college basketball, Kelly, 27 days away. So it's really a great time to be a sports fan. Absolutely.
I love it. It's one of those times of the year where I'm starting to feel really overwhelmed. And that's why everybody's making fun of me on Twitter about doing Sober October. Ralph, can I get you on board? You think we can make it until my birthday?
Yeah, it's been close for me, Kel. I started doing a WagerTalk college basketball guide. So being in the middle of this month, trying to prep everything for college basketball, certainly exciting time. I do want to mention, Kel, I have one special. It is a rarity when I have a 5% on both Saturday and Sunday. This is only the third time in 3 years this weekend that I'm going to have it. And listen to the special. With the code RM49, instead of buying a 7-day package for $119, you're getting a 7-day all-access package for the price of 2 plays. $70 will be your final cost, 7-day all-access, a 5% on Saturday, a 5% on Sunday. That code for the 7-day all-access, RM49.
All right, Ralph Michaels, 49. What have you dug up for us this week?
Well, we're going to talk about buys in the NFL, guys, in the next segment. So I wanted to talk about college football buys as well. I want to say one thing. Probably one of the most important things we'll talk about ever on the NFL segment is this week with bye weeks. Make sure you tune in. But let's break down college football buys since 2017. Kelly, you do a lot of reading. I do a ton of reading in college football and the NFL. And how many times do we read, this team is now healthy and rested off a bye? It's inevitable. Almost every write-up you read. Take a look. Since 2017, if you blindly bet college football home favorites off a bye, you have won a whopping 46.2%. That's right, folks. Betting college football home favorites off a bye is a losing proposition. Take a look to the right of the chart. I broke it down by the biggest month. In November, when teams are tired and you think a bye actually helps you, college football November home favorites off a bye, 38.5%. That is the exact opposite, Kelly. Probably what 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 people would guess if you were making bar bets. I don't want to talk about bar bets during Sober October, but it would certainly be a winning. Look at the home dogs off a bye. Those are a 55% clip. Away favorites off a bye, 55% clips. But away dogs off a bye, a losing prop. Looking at the specific months, September home dogs off a bye have hit 59%. November away favorites, 64.5%. So this is the one thing, guys. Home favorites off a bye are not a winning proposition. Slight winning edge to home dogs off a bye and away favorites with that week of rest.
Well, Ralph, you just kind of destroyed part of my argument for my best bet, but I feel like that's a weekly occurrence with you. I sit here and I cringe. I'm like, no, Ralph, don't do it.
It's just a myth buster, Cal. But again, you're 46.2% doesn't mean you don't play teams off a bye, but don't give them extra points when you're handicapping. If the situation is still right, if the matchups are still right, if there's still value on your power ratings, I'm not saying not to play them, but too many people give teams an extra check mark in their positives, a reason to play because of a bye week. I wanted to look at something else, Kel, in college football, and it's a bubble burst. So often teams have bubble bursts. And what is a bubble burst? It means that your major goals are now unobtainable. Some teams, that means 1 loss. Some teams like Clemson, it means 2 losses. You're out of the national championship race. So I wanted to look at teams that are at least 5-0. They're off their first home loss. and now they're a dog. When I go back and look at those situations for the last 7 years, teams that were at least 5-0, off their first loss and are a dog this week, have only hit 42% against ATS. And it makes total sense. A team was doing great. They thought they might go undefeated. You start getting bigger aspirations. Now you're an underdog to an overmatched team, 42% against the spread. That team to fade this week, BYU against Baylor. But this is one that I do often look at moving forward. So write it down and start looking at those teams off the first loss of a season when they're a dog the next week. Another situation I want to look at now that we're into week 7, Kel. So I looked at game number 6s and higher. So a team has to have at least played game 6. This is game 7 in their section. A winning percentage of at least 80% or higher. They won at least 3 straight games, and now they're an away dog. A lot of that is almost like bubble burst. You have an 80% of win or higher, so you're a winning team. You've won a couple games in a row, so you did lose a game, but you've won a couple in a row. But now you're an overmatched team as an away dog. Those teams, 38 and 57, only 40%. 2 teams to look are in a 60% fade this week. Look to fade Air Force against Boise and look to fade Kentucky against Georgia in this 60% fade mode. And the last one I want to talk about, Kelly, teams that have a poor offensive performance their last game. It doesn't matter if you won or lost, but if you are a home favorite and you scored 13 or fewer points last game, you have actually covered 58% the next game. So home favorites off a game of scoring 13 or less have covered 58.1%. The play on, Miami of Ohio against Akron. But what happens if you're an away favorite that scored 13 or less last game? At home, you've covered 58%. As an away favorite off a poor offensive game, you have only gone 50 ATS wins, 71 ATS losses, and a push. That's 41.3%. Those 59.6% fade teams, Marshall against North Texas, Stanford against Washington State, and Rutgers against Northwestern.
Great stuff from Ralph. As always, as Ralph mentioned, make sure you watch the NFL edition of Bet On to catch his TNA over there. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we got some barking dogs.
Sign up for the free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome back to Bet On. It is my favorite part of the day. Why? Because I need a little help with those underdogs this week. I've only got 2 on my list, so I'm waiting to hear what Marco and VR have to say. Marco D'Angelo, you are up first. Who is your barking dog for college football week 7?
Well, Kelly, the barking dogs have been one of the best segments of the show for us, and I'm going to go to a barking dog, and it's actually Barking Dog Part 2. If you tuned into last week, we had a big barking dog when we went with Boise State over BYU. Well, you know what? This week we're going to follow up on that as Boise State got the job done last week for us. And the reason for it is they caught BYU in a sandwich spot, and there was a big revenge game for Boise State. Now it's Boise State off that win. They got their revenge. They knocked BYU, a top 10 team, out of the ranks of the undefeated. And now they got to take on Air Force. Well, you know what? I know they play Air Force every year, and they see this option. But after you're coming off a satisfying win like Boise State did last week, now you got to be all fat and sassy, but you got to prepare for the option. Good luck with that. You're going to see that option run down your throat 60 to 70 times this week. And you've got to make those tackles. And you miss one and they're off to the races with a big run to the house. I like Air Force. You look what this team has done. They are putting up monster numbers on the ground. They had 3 straight games where they ran for over 400 yards. Last week against Wyoming, they only ran for 211 yards. They still won the game by 10 points. I look for a big effort from them. In Boise, if you look back, they've had a couple games this year, 3 of them to be, in fact, where they gave up over 235 yards on the ground in those games. Central Florida, not a team that's known for their running attack. They ran for 255. Oklahoma State ran for 246, and Utah State ran for 235. I'm going to take that dog. That's live, and I think they get the win. I'm calling Air Force 28-20. So grab the barking dog, and as VR says, put a little sprinkle on it.
Speaking of sprinkle, I swear I've seen sprinkle used more this year than ever before. Congrats to VR for starting that trend. And Marco, I'm with you. Air Force is also on my list. VR, the sprinkle man, who are you sprinkling on this week?
Yeah, and I'm getting 3.5 points with this team. And I'm saying pass on the 3.5 because we're sprinkling on Wyoming. That's correct. To remain undefeated at home. They have not lost there yet this season. Fresno comes in. They've gotten their wins at home. On the road, they're 1-2, and they're about to lose this road game also. Here's why. Again, we have the metrics now, and we need to trust those. Strength of schedule matters, and Fresno has had one of the most easiest strength of schedules. In fact, above 100th in all of college football. So some of those metrics on the Fresno side that are inflated, you got to weigh against that weak strength of schedule. On the flip side, we have a Wyoming team that's had a more difficult strength of schedule and yet more impressive metrics on the defensive side of the ball, which is what you want from your underdog. So I got a home team, edge, hasn't lost there yet, getting points with the better defense. That's all I need for my dogs. Again, want them to give me 60 minutes of effort. That gives me an opportunity to win. And I think Wyoming sets up nicely here. Again, 3 is a key number, not so much in college football as much in the NFL, where points come at a premium, but still important enough that you probably want to take some of the 3.5. That's just me talking big. But I do think this is a very winnable game for Wyoming, and it's very sprinkle worthy. So give me the Wyoming Cowboys on Saturday, and let's get this college football train winning.
I love it. I am also going to be on those Wyoming Cowboys. I love it when me and the guys are in lockstep. But I wanted to touch on something VR just said because he nailed it. I get a lot of questions about my parlay. Well, Kelly, what are you looking for with some of these dogs? My main objective is getting a dog that is going to cover the game, that has the opportunity to win outright. Last week, Marco and I were both on LSU. That, as he mentioned, those were our only underdog losers. I also had 3 dogs that I got 60 minutes of effort from. Few didn't make it to overtime. Thanks, Sam Pittman. And also shout out to the Syracuse Orange for getting so close, just not close enough. And I am now hearing that freight train whistle coming my way. So I think that means it's time for me to shut up and we get to the Steam Game of the Week.
This was difficult because I have a couple Steam plays. I told you I fired this week already. And there's a couple that the line already moved. And that's exactly what a Steam play is. And the question as a bettor you need to have is there still value after a game got steamed? Because one of the totals that I liked a lot, but it got steamed after we bet it, was Michigan State, Indiana. I'm giving you that now. We bet that. Went under 50 and 51, under 50, and even under 49. Now that's why you're looking at 48s and 48.5. So I think a lot of the value has been extracted when it moves that significantly. That's why I'm not using that as the steam move for this week, but I like to share that info so you could know that that kind of move is sharp. It is wise guy money that moved it. Same thing with Utah State. We bet them at minus 6.5. They're a 7-point favorite now. I think they still cover that, but we know that 3 and 7 are key numbers. So my goal is to give you the highest ROI position. And if I got 6.5 and it's now 7, you lost some value. Any way we look at it, even if we both cash the ticket, some value's been extracted. So the one side that I still think has the most value that I released in bet is the Colorado State, New Mexico over. We bet it over 43 and 44. It's sitting at 45. Still good enough number to go over because you're not losing out on many key figures. I get it when it's a low scoring game and not a lot of points are expected. Each point move does matter more than a 70 going from 70 to 72. Going from 43 to 45 is more significant than 70 to 72. Keep that in mind. And yet, with all that said, I still think this line was off enough based on at least the metrics to reflect the value still there. Because when you look at both these teams, granted, they're not offensive juggernauts, but if you look at the quality of defenses they've played, now they're not facing that against each other. You have two bad teams more or less playing each other, two below 500 teams playing each other. And on the New Mexico State side, they've so underperformed, even though that doesn't mean like the ATS is different than the over-under. The fact they've underperformed so greatly, ATS is going to affect the total. And that's the case here with New Mexico State, who has underperformed so greatly this season that you're looking at a much lower total. This is one of those games where it even affects it. So let's go over 45, Colorado State, New Mexico. And the other two that I like, Utah State and the under Michigan State, Indiana. Like I said, I got a ton of gold to share. There'll be some more. And in the NFL one, you really want to stick around there. I'm even going to give some golf there, I think. We got some matchups for you.
Oh, some more golf. Those golf plays went 4-2 last week for those of you that tailed VR. Let's see if we can't get a few more of those this week. And now it's time. Is it a sandwich? Is it a trap? We don't know, but we do know that Marico is kicking ass in both.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Kelly. This one, you could actually call it trappy as well, but we're giving it the official sandwich game, and here's why. We're going to take a look at Purdue at Iowa. Now, if anybody watched the game last week with Iowa and Penn State, what a game. And you know what? If you had a ticket in your pocket on Penn State, don't feel bad. You really had the right side in the game. Once that game, the quarterback went out, Sean Clifford for Penn State, it was over. Backup quarterback was about as bad as I've ever seen college football with a big program like that. But it was a hard-fought physical game. And you had the two teams, number 3 and number 4 in the country. Now you win that game. You can't help it but be fat and sassy Iowa to escape with that win at home the way you did. And then you were losing the entire ball game to finally get the lead late in the fourth quarter and hold on for the victory. And what's on deck for you? That's what makes the sandwich is let's take a look. You got Purdue this week. Yeah, Purdue's underachieved, but you got Wisconsin next week. And speaking of underachieving, yeah, Wisconsin has underachieved, but it is still Wisconsin. It is still a team that went to the fourth quarter, tied 10-10 with Notre Dame before that implosion. That's going to be a tough game for Iowa, especially because they got to go to Wisconsin. They got to be thinking about that one and still celebrating last week's game. In Purdue, well, how about they come in here with 2 weeks to prepare. They're rested. Now, I will admit, the Purdue offense, and when you think about the head coach, he's been an offensive-minded coach there at Purdue, 13 points, 3 straight games, hasn't gotten it done. But I can tell you, they've worked on a lot of stuff with that extra week off to get this offense right. I think this is a great spot for a live underdog sandwich game. I don't know that if I could really pull the trigger on the sprinkle, maybe just a tiny dash. Sometimes you cook, you just throw a dash of it in there. Don't go the full sprinkle. But I like Purdue plus the 11.5. I think this one goes right down to the wire.
Don't you worry, Marco D'Angelo. I will be taking that money line right when we come back from this commercial break.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase. Wow, what an October of sports with the NHL now underway and the NBA tipping off next Tuesday. We want to help you celebrate the opening week, both on the ice and the hardwood. Every NHL daily package is only $9 through Monday, October 18th. And yes, that includes 5% NHL plays, regularly priced at $35. For you NBA fans, we'll be offering the same incredible deal next week when basketball returns. From opening night through Monday, October 25th, get every NBA package for only $9, including all 5% top plays. Plus, don't forget that WagerTalk TV will again be airing both Puck Time and the NBA Tip-Off Show every Monday through Friday.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is best bet time. And I'm just going to pick up where Marco left off. I know he talks about Purdue coming off a bye week, but this team has no lack of confidence. They can beat the Hawkeyes because they did last season. But let's talk about this Iowa team. I know I had Penn State last weekend. What does this Iowa team do well? That's right, they stop the run. Well, Purdue's throwing over 65% of their downs in the last 3 seasons. I think if the Boilers can take Iowa out of their defensive comfort zone, this game's going to be a lot closer than the spread suggests. Also, not to mention, this one's a pretty low total, which makes points as a premium, as VR likes to say. Marco mentioned Wisconsin on deck. Now, I wasn't going to mention that as a possible look-ahead spot, but I think he's right. It can be a factor here. Sitting in second place in the top 25, I think the Hawkeyes have a major target on their back in Kinnick Stadium. I like Purdue plus the points, and I think they're worth a money line sprinkle. VR, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
All right, I know I'm going to hear it, especially if this team loses. They're going to be like, how are you betting these bad teams? The spread becomes the great equalizer, guys. Again, in sports betting, more times than not, on paper, we know who the better team is, but that's why there's a point spread. That's why there's a money line. And in this spot, I am backing the 0-5 Arizona team getting 7 at Colorado. Hear me out. The reason isn't as much a bet on Arizona as it is a fade of Colorado, who has no business being a 7-point favorite pretty much against anybody. Let alone against Arizona. Let's not forget, we're looking at a 1-win Colorado team. They've been a favorite one time this season of above more than 1 point. A favorite of more than 2 points one time this season, and that was against Northern Colorado. That's it. Otherwise, again, what business does a team like Colorado have laying 7 when here's what the metric says? Let me tell you, they've played one of the easiest schedules in all of college football, and yet they are 129th defensively in points per game allowed. 129th defensively in points per game allowed. In yards per play allowed, it doesn't get better. They're like 130th. What kind of defense do you have and you're laying 7 points? Again, I know Arizona's winless, but Colorado is not a 7-point favorite. The only reason is because they're home and they have a win on their schedule. And the reason they have a win is because they were a 40-point favorite against Northern Colorado in a game they didn't even cover. They underperformed. So again, win or lose, I'm taking Arizona plus the 7, and I think it's a great bet. The team that should not be getting this many points. And more importantly, when you're winless, you're going to give me effort. And if anything, this is that one game so far this season on that Arizona schedule that is actually winnable. They were 30-point dogs against Oregon. They were 17-point dogs against UCLA. This is the kind of game they could actually win. So I think you're going to see at least the best game Arizona could bring, and that's more than enough to keep it within a touchdown, if not beat a bad Colorado team. So I'm not saying I'm going out there and saying Arizona's great or anything like that. They are winless. But that's why I'm getting 7 points and probably at least 3 or 4 more than I should. So give me Arizona as the best bet this week.
Well, VR just made me circle the Arizona Wildcats on my long list. I think I will have to take them plus the 7 as well. Am I going to sprinkle on the money line? I don't know if I have that big of guts. Marco, who is your best bet for this week?
All right. Well, maybe I'll help you get there, Kelly. I could say Kelly has seen my tablet in the past before. I have a tablet every week when I'm breaking the games down, and I put all my plays in the categories: barking dog, sandwich, trap, whatever, best bet. Arizona was on my barking dog list, BR. So I'm with you there on Arizona.
My man.
But I'm going to a different one, and we've only done one total in college football this year. I did it in week 1. It was a best bet, and we got the money. So let's see if we can go back and make it 2-0 with total best bets on the show. And we're going to go to TCU in Oklahoma. And before you start running to the window thinking I'm going over, slam the brakes, because I am not. We are going under in this one. And you're going to look at me and say, what are you thinking, or what are you smoking? Because did you not watch Oklahoma last week? Did you see that quarterback change at halftime? Did you see them march up and down the field? I know my buddy VR loved that second half change with Oklahoma coming in there. But now the narrative's going to be, Oklahoma's found their quarterback. This is going to be it. Now they're going to see that offense that we're used to seeing with Oklahoma. TCU's coming off a high-scoring game too. They can't set the total high enough. Yeah, they can. And I'll tell you, we've seen some buyback on this already. This total was 66 and 66.5. We're down to 65. We still have value at that. And I'll tell you the reason. That Oklahoma quarterback came in, replaced Shane Rattler. Well, Caleb Williams, they weren't prepared for him. He's a totally different quarterback than Rattler. This is a guy that's a dual threat quarterback. He'll put the ball down and run. He had 88 yards rushing in the second half to go along with those 200 yards of passing. And when you're not prepared for him, you're going to catch breaks. And then the game just kind of unraveled for Texas. And we know Texas doesn't have a good defense. But this week, TCU will have game film on Caleb Williams. They will be prepared for that dual threat. And let's not forget, I know it was a high-scoring game last week, but if you look at Oklahoma's other games this year, their defense has played well basically all season long. They held Nebraska to 16 points. They held West Virginia to 13 points. Yeah, Kansas State scored 31 against them, but if you remember, 7 of those points came in the final minute of the game on that kick return to get them there. So they were looking at really a 24-point turn that they gave up in that game. I don't see this getting to 65. And if Oklahoma has the lead, you're going to see them run the football more. They had to throw it on every down basically last week because they were behind most of that game. And at one point, they were down 18 points starting the second half. You're not going to run the football much. They'll go back to the Oklahoma style that we saw at the beginning of the year, hard defense, and I'm taking this one under 65. Is it's going to be an overreaction to the public running to bet the over. I like the under 65.
Woo! Marco's giving me a hot flash taking that under. I'm already sweating. Good God, that makes me nervous. That being said,
Kelly, hold up. Before we go to the commercial break and then the recap, I did promise to share the rest of the college football steam. You're going to have to watch the NFL for golf and NFL stuff, but I got to share this. So I'll be quick. I love our guys out there, all the support. Smash that like button. And here's what we've moved on so far this week. I told you what I passed off as premium plays. I shared those totals, those sides. Here's some other stuff as well. Friday night, they went over 65.5 Marshall, Texas. Then Saturday, game 126, North Carolina minus 6.5. Game 142, over 51.5, NC State, Boston College. Nebraska minus 2.5. That's game 143. I gave you Arizona already. 159, Air Force, plus the points and money line. 164, Wyoming. I gave you Wyoming already. 166, over 53, UCLA, Washington. 170, Baylor, minus 5. 173, Oklahoma State, plus 5.5. 183, Alabama, minus 16.5. 185, Kent over 65.5. 195, Auburn plus the points and money line. I gave you Utah State. And 206, UTEP plus 7. Again, a lot of volume. That's what these groups play. They know their edge is small. They wish it was bigger so they could unload big bombs, but they've played the game long enough. They know the edge is small, so they move a bunch of volume. They know long-term they have an edge, and they just keep grinding over and over and over again. So use the info as you choose. Fade it, follow it, ignore it. I just hope you make money with it. That's the goal.
I love VR mixing it up for those that just scroll to the end for the recap. Sorry, you get no gold this week. We are going to take our last commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to put it in a nice little present box for you, wrap it on up for all of you that cheated and scrolled to the end.
Why pay regular price when you can save money on every purchase with WagerBucks at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo? WagerBucks are now eligible for use on not just daily, 3-day, and 7-day passes, but all long-term and seasonal packages up to 1 full year. There are tons of options available for every budget and size of better, from as low as $90 gets $100, all the way up to $3,500 gets you $5,000. Save every day on every pick you buy with WagerBucks. Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
Welcome back to Bet On It. Thank you to VR for that gold. If you scrolled all the way to the end, you missed out. VR and Marico both like Georgia in the big game breakdown versus Kentucky. Both lean towards the under. Barking Dogs this week, Wyoming and Air Force, which both I already bet. Great stuff there. The steam game of the week, Colorado State, New Mexico, over 45. The deli's back open, and so is my best bet, Purdue, plus 11.5. I think is worth a money line sprinkle. Speaking of best bets, Arizona plus 7. Yep, they're winless, but VR says they're catching too many points here. And Marico making me about to pass out in the middle of the show. TCU, Oklahoma, under 65. Hope you guys have a great week 7 in college football. Appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in, smashing that like button, jumping in the comments, send us some love on Twitter, and we'll try to get your questions answered for next week. Until then, let's bet on it.